If I wanted to be free in my own life, then I needed to actually provide structure and discipline for myself. Because as long as I didn't do that, I would always be in prison, even after I was in prison. And I know that's true, because when I was in prison and I started to channel these things and take a different approach to things, I felt more free than I was before going to prison. My actions have an impact on other people.
Yeah.
It's not hyper-rational choice, game theory, I make my choices and take my consequences.
Yeah.
We exist in a network of connection and family and business and society that I never countenanced before, I didn't understand that, when I went to prison and I was in the media and stuff, that my little brother would go for job interviews and get asked about me. And that was crushing to me. It's those things, and hearing my dad, who's such a strong, stoic person, hearing that he was, in tears and stuff like that, those things for me are the consequences that will keep me from relapsing and regressing. The government can step in and impose a sanction on behalf of society as an abstract concept, as the state, but that doesn't actually change the way people feel about someone who's committed an offence. So the social punishment, what you described at the start, the othering, the stigmaing, that is a social community response to an unpaid debt, to an unpaid wrong. Because the state or the government has stepped in and imposed a punishment and then tells that person they've punished, you are now square with the house, but they're not. And that's something that the government and government policy struggles to answer, because at its heart, people's reaction to criminal offending and people who have wronged specific people and society as an actual reality rather than society as an abstract idea, there are unpaid debts to come. There's the societal rehabilitation, there's the moral rehabilitation. So there's at least 3 types of rehabilitation. The government only addresses one of. And so for me, rebuilding my life and being able to walk down the street and being able to sit here and talk to you in front of a camera, the only reason that's possible for me in myself is because I know I'm doing everything I can to address the wrongs I've done practically to my actual victims. But then also, when I got out of prison, I got my drug and alcohol qualification. I've worked in rehabs as a volunteer. I still volunteer with Foundation 61 in Geelong and Eagles Corner, which is a rehab in Bendigo. I've mentored and assisted people experiencing addiction themselves, and I've been able to use my experiences to help other people in that same situation. And I'm not doing that so that other people can look at it and say, look, this person's rehabilitated. I'm doing it for myself. So those levels of things, I think, aren't easy to put on the front page of the Herald Sun, even if they were so inclined, which they're not. But those are the things that I think we're now at the point where I really felt this conversation would be something your viewers would really, it would be novel for them to hear and think about these things, because you have the social death, right?
Because we've been taught for so long been taught that that's a murderer over there, that's an animal. There's a dog, there's a bear, there's a murderer, and that's a
risk, that's a hazard, not a human being, One of the most devastating things for me was sitting in a prison cell, realising that I had behaved in a way that had aggressed on others, that had violated my, not only the laws of society and everything, but my internal philosophy of how the world should be and how people should behave. I had acted at odds with myself. And I remember thinking, this is just my life now. What can I do? How could I ever say or be anything with a straight face again? Because I've basically just been a hypocrite. And, the repaying victims thing, my parents were incredible in their wisdom and insight into the benefits that would give me, not only that it was the right thing to do for the people I'd harmed, but what it could do for me and allow me to reconstitute myself and actually say, I faltered, but a faltering and a fall doesn't mean it's the end. It's not a one-shot video game. We're told constantly that it's we've got one shot, we've got to shoot our shot, we've got to, this is it, everything's on you, you've got to have it all before you're 30. In my 30s now, I've had more reward, more satisfaction, more personal growth and development, more life lived than I ever had in my 20s. And it's because I've made mistakes and learned from them. And, you know, I've been able to reconcile the mistakes I made with my own individual philosophy in a way that is consistent. You know, that I know I'm repaying the harm I've done.